Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. It has been a long day already. I have been doing voiceovers all day, and I'm finally getting fashionably late to the Q party. But we are going to start right into it. No time for pleasantries. Hi, how are you? Thank you, I'm fine. Okay, go. 16 minutes past the hour of 11. We got Christmas in D.C. with the festive green. Who is arranging the private meetings? MZ, campaign contribution promises. FB donation since 4/2/18, fresh round. R's targeted. Censorship, anti-R, more dollars. How to mask. MZ personal donations. Shell company, recent stock dump. Avoid Facebook public disclosure. Track congressional intake reported. Keep open 6 months, plus 6 months. Loud with findings. RT, how DC swamp works. Money talks. Drain the swamp. How do politicians access campaign contributions for personal use? The con. Q. Now adding on to that, 33 minutes past the hour of 11. Q says follow the family, reread drops. 55 minutes past the hour of 11. Adding on to the first one. People have power. Don't forget how to play. Together you are strong. Facebook violation of your privacy. Facebook actively tracking you. Facebook reading your private messages. Facebook censoring. Anti-conservative. More will drop. We have it all. Class action lawsuits are effective. Global. At Jack, you're next. What is Jack's secret T handle? I want a T handle. Dummy accounts to talk. What you see is limited. Think emails. LL, HRC, Hussein, etc. Q. In response to an Anon who says, not mine, no Facebook. 58 minutes past the hour of 11. Q says, you are being tracked. No Facebook account required. This is bigger than you think. Agencies attached. Q. Adding on to that, at 9 minutes past the hour of 12, think bridge. Google, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, central algorithm. The stage had to be set. Q. 12 minutes past the hour of 12, Q says class action lawsuits are very effective. 2 billion people. Global, scale, regulation or kill. People have the power to decide. Q. 25 minutes past the hour of 12, Syria, hold until conf. Military assets on the ground locked out of GZ. Israel strike harmed ability to prove events. Clown report must be verified. Troop unwind to still occur. Have faith, trust POTUS, Q. Excuse me, I have a very weak voice today. Okay. In response to an Anon who says, weird that you can't get eyes on, suspect AF. And Q says, SAT imagery plus EITS are not definitive. Q, 31 minutes past the hour of 12. In response to a picture that says, Iran threat to restart nukes from the Drudge Report. Like clockwork, you have been prepared. 20 minutes past the hour of 1. 27 minutes past the hour of 2, we have a link. CA targeted. How often does POTUS RT weekly address April showers? Q. 23 minutes past the hour of 5. RR problems. Q. 5 minutes past the hour of 6. Forgot to post this along with original post. April. A in brackets. IG report. Sessions public attack. RR problems. Seals broken. Arrest. Why was Huber made public? Why now? Everything has meaning. Oman. Tarmac. Iran. North Korea. Uranium One. FBI. DOJ. Mueller. Election integrity. Immigration bill. Border. Wall. Military start. Big month. Q. Adding on to that, at 21 minutes, past the hour of 6, amazing coincidence, plus military start / wall. You have more than you know, reason we are here, more. Q. In response to an Anon who says POTUS said they broke in, 27 minutes past the hour of 6, they broke in during the fire. Distraction. Q. In response to an Anon. Did Anons ever figure out what Q meant with the baby on floor, hands and mouth? The start. Was this Syria FF? Presumably false flag. 36 minutes past the hour of 6. Q says, finally, chemicals, learn our comms. And then we have an Anon. I'll read this quickly. We'll talk about it later. The connection is simply chlorine, not false flag. Keep in mind that every crumb is not meant to be solved before the event. Some of the drops are things for Anons to dig on and make connections with. Others are marker for future reference. Future proves past. Some drops are just simply communications to the Anons. What needs to be understood to appreciate what's going here is the fact that Q is basically creating a circular flow diagram that can be referenced and cross-checked with news releases. Q can't just disclose specifics about a situation or operation without violating security protocol. Instead, they drop questions and statements that lead to answers that can be understood once the subject becomes public. This provides the validation necessary for the public to believe the Great Awakening is legit. Disinformation and misdirection with Q is real. In other words, Q is pointing over there, but really the focus is here. And only until you publicly get the news can you go back and understand. Think SA drops. All of this is accomplished without giving up specific details about the operation. It's quite genius. Q simply responds by basically acknowledging the number. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm doing that a lot today. All right. 49 minutes past the hour of 7. We have Read Carefully, Cohen. And then we have a link to the New York Times. 59 minutes past the hour of 2. Thank you, C. Good start. China. CQ. Cancel. Q. "19 minutes after the hour of 11, we have a link. Adding on to thank you, C. We have Q. All right. In response to an article, I'm not going to read this whole thing because we're going to cover it. I'll just read this here. Chongqing, China. For more than a decade, Chinese automakers have been talking about starting large-scale exports to North America and Europe, prompting periodic worries in the West that companies like General Motors, Ford, and Volkswagen might be crippled by Chinese competition, the way they were by Japanese imports a generation ago. Q is acknowledging this. In response to an Anon who posts a picture, says, thoughts, God bless. 43 minutes past the hour of 11, Q says, fake. 15 minutes past the hour of 12, clarify, Chongqing. Tuesday, demand, C. Confirm tariff reduction. Tuesday, China, cars. Article provides foundation. Major import, Ford, U.S., start, Q. 40 minutes past the hour of 12. Actions today. Raid in brackets. Will be met with swift action. FBI burning midnight oil. Q. And finally, 48 minutes after the hour of 12. Trust Sessions. Trust Ray. Trust Kansas. Trust Horowitz. Trust Huber. Q. Ladies and gentlemen, those are your Q posts for today. If you want to leave it there, you're welcome to leave it there. Otherwise, we're going right back to the beginning, Christmas in D.C., and we're going to start here. Not before I cough again. Oh, I'm so sorry you have to listen to that. All right. So we got Christmas in D.C. I don't know what they're talking about with Christmas. Maybe it's just so much going on that it's Christmas in D.C. Well, who's arranging the private meetings? We want to talk about that in a minute. MZ, Mark Zuckerberg. Okay, campaign contribution promises. So was Mark Zuckerberg making campaign contributions, or were people contributing to Mark Zuckerberg in order for campaigning? Who knows? Facebook donations since around 4/2/18. Ooh, not too long ago. We got a fresh round of something. Fresh round of what? I don't know, but whatever it is, the R's are targeted. Who's the R's? That must be the Republicans. Censorship, anti-R, more dollars. Okay, so is Mark Zuckerberg getting some incentive to block everything on Facebook that's that's going on with either conservative views or Republican views? Remember, we've got this, what do they call it? Diamond and Silk. Remember them? Diamond and Silk, they're in the news right now. They just got blocked off of Facebook. Okay. Well, let's take a look at some of these campaigns. It talks here about Shell company. Shell company. What's a shell company? That's a Dutch company. Shell company, right? Aren't they Dutch? Anyway, well, this is as of February 2018, not too long ago. Their profit tripled. Wow. Royal Dutch Shell PLC more than tripled its earnings in 2017 as rising oil and natural gas prices helped accelerate the impact of its efforts to boost cash flow and profitability. The Anglo-Dutch oil giant is the first of the oil majors to report its earnings, kicking off a results season that expected to show them regaining financial strength after years of scrambling to cope with a sharp drop in oil prices 3.5 years ago. Wow, interesting indeed. Now maybe it's just because, like I said, rising oil and natural gas prices, could be, but wow, triple their profit. Good for them. Okay, so I don't know the connection there yet. Okay, but there's probably a connection there, obviously, with Mark Zuckerberg that Q wants us to find. Okay, but campaign contributions are definitely interesting, aren't they? Let's go a little further. Recent stock dump. Who dumped a bunch of stock? Mark Zuckerberg. He dumped a ton of stock, didn't he? Tons of people did. People were dumping Facebook like crazy. Who else got dumped? Twitter got dumped. Okay, you remember Rizvi Travers, Suhail Rizvi? Okay, that's the dude wrapped up with Jack Dorsey from Twitter. Okay, they dumped all that Twitter stuff. Well, it is Twitter. Those are the guys from Twitter. They dumped their own Twitter. Where'd they go? They went to Square. Remember that. They went to Square. Avoid Facebook public disclosure. All right, well, this gets interesting indeed. Track congressional intake. Congressional intake. What did we talk? We were talking about Mark Zuckerberg. We weren't talking about Congress, or were we? Well, we know Mark Zuckerberg is going to testify by the time you're probably seeing this video. Let me take you over to USA Today. Facebook, a big contributor to the committees in Congress that will question Mark Zuckerberg. That's going to happen today. Members of the House and Senate committees that will question Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg about user privacy protection next week are also some of the biggest recipients of campaign contributions from Facebook employees directly in the Political Action Committee funded by employees. Oh, there's that word again. Do you remember this word? PAC's Political Action Committee. Remember? Chris Christie, Cory Booker, Chuck Schumer. Remember that they got that New Jersey project that Q was talking about? Political Action Committee. Here we are again. People taking money. Whose money are they taking? They're taking everybody's money. All right, well, who's getting this money? We're going to go through this kind of quickly because there's a lot to cover. Chairman Greg Walden, he's getting some money. Got $27,000. Couple congressmen there. Who else? Nancy Pelosi's getting some money. Nancy Pelosi. Oh, look at that guy. Who's that guy? Senator Ted Cruz. He's getting some money. Okay, here it is. They're talking about Cambridge Analytica and stuff like that. There's he got $15,000. Cruz, you're taking money. You're not supposed to do that. The top recipient of Facebook contributions on the House Commerce Committee, receiving $51,000, was Representative Anna Eshoo, a California Democrat whose district is adjacent to Facebook's headquarters. That's really convenient. You can just walk it over. There. Oh, there's Nancy Pelosi. She took money. $55,000. Overall, Facebook has contributed $1.1 million to House members, split almost evenly between the parties. Well, that'll give us a nice, fair and balanced, trial. That's going to work out great. It's going to do great today. All right, let me know how it goes. I won't be able to see it until you guys do. All right, but there you go. So, So Congress is taking money from Zuckerberg. That's not good. Keep open plus 6 months. Don't know what that means. Loud with findings. I think Q's telling us that whatever we find through this, we need to be loud. Okay. Please keep in mind that Q a lot of times say that they've got it, but they need our help. All right. Now we're back to RT. Now, to be fair, RT. If you see my mouse there, it says real time or Rex Tillerson. We've talked about this before. I actually think it has to do with Rizvi Travers. Remember Rizvi Travers? We were just talking about him. That's Suhail Rizvi. He's wrapped up, with Jack Dorsey. They took all their money out of Twitter, put it into Apple, Square, which is basically the parent company of all this stuff. Money talks, drain the swamp. I think Rizvi Travers is a good example of how the DC swamp works. You see what I'm saying here? Okay. Excuse me. I want to go a little bit deeper, though. Let's take you back here to this recent stock dump. Avoid Facebook public disclosure. So how does this stuff work? Mark Zuckerberg. I'm going to take you back to 2015. Mark Zuckerberg vows to donate 99% of his Facebook shares for charity. Okay, if you remember this, he was talking about Bill Gates and how he was such an inspiration, and he wanted to donate a bunch of his money too. Well, good. That's nice, because these people are philanthropists. Remember, these guys are humanitarians. All right, remember, look at this. How do politicians access campaign contributions for personal use? Well, they get it through these foundations, right? These foundations, we've been talking forever about foundations. Clinton Foundation, UNICEF, I don't care if it's Red Cross. It can be a Mark Zuckerberg Foundation. Tons of foundations. John McCain's got the Arizona State Foundation. All right. Mark Zuckerberg's probably got some foundations, but he's going to give 99% of his Facebook shares for charity. Where's it going to go? San Francisco, Mark Zuckerberg, the co-founder and chief executive of Facebook, announced on Tuesday that he and his wife would give 99% of their Facebook shares during our lives, holdings currently worth more than $45 billion to charitable purposes. Wow. See, so philanthropists, right? These guys just want to save the world. Check this out now. By using a limited liability company, remember this, please. By using a limited liability company instead of a nonprofit or corporation or foundation, the Zuckerberg family will be able to go beyond making philanthropic grants. They will invest in companies, lobby for legislation, and seek to influence public policy debates, which nonprofits are restricted from doing under tax laws. A spokeswoman for the family said that any profits from the investments would be plowed back into the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative for future projects. Okay, so there's two things I want you to really, really remember about our conversation here. I want you to remember that this is an LLC and that 99% is going to the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative for future projects. Okay, please keep that in mind. Now, let's take you back to some Q. So, how do politicians access campaign contributions for personal use? Well, that's a part of it, okay? They can put it through these foundations. That's how the money talks. That's how Rizvi Traverse, that's how these guys can quietly work this DC swap. All right, let's move on just a little bit. Now over here, follow the family. Reread drops Q. What family are we talking about? I don't know what family we're talking about, but I got some ideas, okay? Now, let me take you right here. Let's start with the Zuckerberg family. Well, Chan Zuckerberg, this is their initiative we were talking about. This is back in 2016. They announced $3 billion investment. Now, keep in mind, they're about to give more than 45. Now, they're not going to give the whole 45 just to this initiative, but they're going to get a lot. As you can see, they've already gotten lots of money to cure disease. So this is what they do. So let's look at this a little bit. This is interesting. The Chan Zuckerberg Initiative just announced a new program informally, called Chan Zuckerberg Science to invest $3 billion over the next decade to help cure, prevent, or manage all disease. The money comes from the $45 billion organization Mark Zuckerberg and his wife Priscilla Chan started last year to advance human potential and equality. Well, that's what we really all want. That's what these humanitarians want. These guys want equality. They want us to be equal, right? Part of the $3 billion will go to a $600 million investment in BioHub, a new physical location that will unite researchers from Stanford, Berkeley, and UCSF with elite engineers to find new ways to treat diseases. What kind of diseases? Cancer, neurological disease, other disease, accidents of violence, hunger, heart disease, infectious disease. So you see, guys, we're just bringing scientists together. We're just humanitarians. Corey Bargman, a neuroscientist from the Rockefeller University and the new head of Chan Zuckerberg's science program, came out to explain how the $3 billion will be spent. Rockefeller's a family. Let's talk more. Okay, so BioHub, what are they doing? In BioHub? Biophysics, bioengineering, that sounds like good stuff, right? BioHub will also staff researchers and keep equipment on hand for rapid response to emerging dangers like the Zika virus. Well, how do they know it's emerging? I haven't seen it emerge yet. I've seen it some places. I haven't seen it emerge. Is it going to emerge? What else are these guys doing with this money? Transformational technologies. That sounds formidably creepy. The CZS will focus on building transformational technologies that could drive significant leaps in treatment and prevention, Zuckerberg said. It's actually pretty easy to imagine what new tools we need to develop to make progress on the 4 major disease categories. So it's AI software to help with imaging the brain, to make progress on neurological disease, machine learning to analyze large databases. Of course, he loves his databases. And cancer genomes. Remember, they're all up in the genomes, okay? A chip to be able to diagnose any infectious disease. Continuous bloodstream monitoring to be able to identify and catch any disease early. Okay, so these humanitarians right here. These humanitarians who stole all your information. This guy right here, Mr. Humanitarian, took everything. He's got all your messages. He's got all your pictures. He's got everything. He wants to put a chip in your brain so you don't get the Zika virus. Right? Seems perfect. But let me do you one better. We know that the Rockefeller family is involved. Remember, follow the family. I want to meet you somebody else in this Facebook family. All right, this is back in 2014. Meet new billionaire Jeff Rothschild, the engineer who saved Facebook from crashing. Oh, thanks, Jeff. Thanks, J-Ro. When Jeff Rothschild joined Facebook in 2005, he was old enough to be Mark Zuckerberg's father. Let me say it again. When Jeff Rothschild joined Facebook in 2005, he was old enough to be Mark Zuckerberg's father. At 50, the experienced entrepreneur who had already founded 2 successful companies seemed out of place, especially in khakis and a tucked-in shirt that did little to hide his age. Okay, so J-Ro saved it all. He saved it all. Look, his name's J-Ro. Since the earliest days, Jeff has been a linchpin for Facebook's technical success, said Chief Technology Officer Michael Schrepfer. So much of the company's journey from being a humble startup to becoming a truly global platform can be mapped back to his work and expertise. Wow. How about that? So, could that be the family that we're talking about? All right. Let's keep moving on. Now, adding on to all of this, Q says, people have power. Don't forget how to play. Together you are strong. Facebook, violation of your privacy. Obviously, Facebook actively tracking you. They're tracking everything you do. Facebook reading your private messages. Oh, don't do that. Facebook censoring anti-conservative. Done that to me already. They do it about twice a week to me. More will drop. We have it all. Okay, I don't know what's going to drop, but it's obviously going to be very, very important. Class action lawsuits are effective. Global. Okay, well, it is. We got a ton of users. Global. We're all global. I'm global. You're global. Okay, we're all global. Class action lawsuits. Remember, Diamond and Silk, I was talking about them earlier. They file the class action lawsuits. I myself am not going to for personal reasons. But if you want to do that, you can do that. Oh, I'm sorry. This stupid article keeps popping up. You hush, Donald. I'm not ready for you. All right. Now, at Jack, you're next. Okay, we were talking about Jack. Rizvi Traverse and Jack all dumped everything, went to Apple. They're next. What is Jack's secret T handle? Dummy accounts to talk. What you see is limited. Think emails, LL, HRC, Hussein, etc. Okay, lots to talk about here. Now, I don't know what Jack's secret cool T handle is. I want to have one. You guys can give me one if you want. Dummy accounts to talk. What are we talking about with these dummy accounts? I don't know what that means. Well, I do have an article for you. This is from change.org. Reinstate at WiseGuy70 on Twitter. Before I move into this article, incidentally, Jack Dorsey retweeted reinstate at WiseGuy on Twitter at one point. 3 days ago, Dr. Rita Powell was subjected to significant sexual harassment by a man purporting to be from the Indian Army. He threatened to have me raped. The screenshots are with yourselves. I am a campaigner for Kashmir human rights. I have had persistent harassment for a number of months throughout social networking. This has been designed to stop me circulating evidence on human rights violations in Kashmir. On this occasion, at WiseGuy70 defended me robustly as I was understandably distressed. He was subsequently attacked by Indian cyber trolls who I believe made false complaints to Twitter. I know that a few weeks ago, many leading defenders of Kashmir had their accounts suspended. At the time, I informed you suspicious spam activity on my account. Dummy accounts were repeating my tweets, implying I was a spammer. Twitter reinstated a number of accounts and agreed there was some unusual activity. Please, will you review the account of WiseGuy70 and reinstate it? Kashmir human rights is at a vital juncture, and we are all being silenced by India. Okay, I don't have a ton on this, but Jack Dorsey did retweet this. I don't know if he's a wise guy. It doesn't necessarily make a sense, but I just want to show you that that's what's going on Twitter. Lots of celebrities are using dummy accounts. So of course, why would we expect Jack to use a dummy account? Now, I'm not going to go back to any old articles or anything, but if you want to look for yourself, Jack Dorsey himself was banned from Twitter. Not anymore, but at some point, Jack was banned for Twitter. You can go all in that yourself. But Jack himself has gotten in trouble with Twitter. So what do these dummy accounts think? Well, I don't know. But what we see is limited. Think emails. So now we're talking about Loretta Lynch, Hillary Rodham Clinton, Hussein. All right. Is it possible, folks, that Jack is using a secret T handle, is probably mentioned somewhere? I'm going to assume the WikiLeaks emails, because that's the only thing that ties Loretta Lynch, Hillary Rodham Clinton, and Obama together as far as emails go. Is it possible that Jack was getting a message, maybe by way or at least involved with Suhail Rizvi, who is directly involved with the Muslim Brotherhood? You understand where we're going with there? Dummy accounts. We'll learn more soon, I guess. Okay, we have it all. More will drop. Let's move on. Now, in response to an Anon that says, not mine, no Facebook, 58 minutes past the hour of 11, Q says, you are being tracked. No Facebook account required, meaning you don't need a Facebook account. All you need is a phone. Okay, nowadays they can put these little chips in your clothes. I know it sounds really conspiracy theorist, but we've seen it. They show us the technology every day on these little science channels. They show you these cool things on how small these little trackers can get in. They talk about it all the time. They've been talking about it for years. This is bigger than you think. It is bigger than you think, guys. Think about all the things that this Chan Zuckerberg thing, they're into human genomes, okay? Wetware, big stuff, folks. It's bigger than you think. Agencies attached, all right? Now, an addendum. At 9 minutes past the hour of 12, think bridge. Google, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm assuming that's going to be Instagram. Central algorithm. The stage has to be set. Q. Okay. Well, we've talked about a lot about Google, Facebook, Twitter, and not so much Instagram, but I think it's all LinkedIn. These are the four real major ones. Okay, there's probably other ones. Now, it could be that there's a bridge, a particular bridge that is a central algorithm that kind of runs through all this, and which I'm assuming it probably is. Now, I don't know if that's the actual bridge, but we do know this already. Q's already implied it in past posts, that there's a central algorithm. Okay, this may involve, this is going to involve a lot of people at some point, but Edward Snowden at some point. All right. Now, but let me turn you on to this real quick. And this is from June 5th, 2017. Facebook, Google, and Twitter rushed to defend policies after London Bridge attack. Social media companies rushed to defend their policies in the wake of the attack on London Bridge on Saturday night, amid criticism that they aren't doing enough to stop the spread of extremism online. Followed the attack on London Bridge, in which 7 people were killed and 48 injured. Theresa May accused social media companies of offering terrorists a safe space. She said the sites facilitate the spread of extremist ideologies and called for a greater regulation of firms such as Facebook, Google, and Twitter. Social media platforms were quick to respond, urging the government of their commitment to being a hostile environment for such behavior. Okay, that's pretty much the article right there. But let's put that back in the context of this, okay? So, this bridge attack, does it really just kind of mean that we were just talking about, all this conservative, these views getting banned, and all the other ones getting donations so that, Zuckerberg can push this sort of narrative? Could that be the bridge that we're talking about? Could it just be an example? Who knows? The stage had to be set either way. All right, let's move on. Now, Q's saying at 12 minutes past the hour of 12, class action lawsuits are very effective. Well, Q's mentioned it a couple times already. 2 billion people, that's a lot of users, right? Global scale, it's huge. Regulation or kill? Well, that's up to us, I guess. Do we want to regulate this thing? Is it fun to have Facebook? It's fun to, put up your little pictures of your Instagram, whatever you like to do. I don't love most of these. Facebook, I kind of probably dislike the most, but it really doesn't matter. I think we have to decide, do we want to regulate this? It's a difficult thing to regulate. It's a double-edged sword, folks, okay? Or do we want to kill it altogether? People have the power to decide. Okay. 25 minutes past the hour of 12. Syria. Hold until. I'm going to assume that's a confirmation. Military assets on the ground locked out of GZ, and I'm going to assume that that's Gaza Strip. Israel strike harmed ability to prove events. Clown report must be verified. Troop unwind to still occur. Have faith. POTUS. Okay. Interesting stuff. We kind of all know what happened in Syria. And let me see if I can take you over here. I'm actually going to take you from Israel's perspective. This is the Jerusalem Post. Reports. Israel warned U.S. of Syria strike. Kremlin says left in the dark. Israel has not made any statement on the strike. Israel gave the United States advance warning of its early Monday morning strike on a military base in Syria, according to initial reports, while the Kremlin charged that it failed to inform Russia. Israel has not made any statement on the strike. The U.S., France, and Great Britain have also said they were not involved in the operation. The attack came 2 days after Syrian government forces allegedly gassed at least 60 civilians to death in a chemical attack in Douma. Defense analysts say there are large deployments of Russian forces at the T4 base, and Russian jets fly regular sorties from the base to strike rebel-held areas such as Douma. U.S. Secretary of Defense James Mattis, warned Monday that he has not ruled out American military action in response to the chemical attack. U.S. President Donald Trump said he was meeting with military and other advisors, and a decision would be made within 48 hours and might come as soon as the end of the day. Nothing is off the table, he said when asked if U.S. military action was a possibility. There's more here. That's kind of the gist of it. All right. So we had the gassing, and clearly it's terrible. And we know about the timing. The timing came just as Trump wanted to pull out all the troops and take them over to the border. Trump still wants to do that. The border we're going to talk about the border in a little bit here, but obviously that's a huge priority. Okay. So interesting timing. Remember from a couple days ago, interesting timing. Then the gas attack comes. Remember, it's all alleged. Now, I don't want to say it wasn't. Okay. If it was, this is a terrible tragedy. Okay. This kind of thing is terrible. Just giving you what's kind of going on, the general story. All right. So now Israel strikes, harmed ability to prove events. Yeah. It doesn't help us. It doesn't help us. Really, I imagine must be a massive stress if you're the president of the United States. Okay, you're trying to make a statement down at the border. You're trying to work with the deep state, but this, in a lot of ways, is playing to the outward narrative. Okay, this is going to put us in a bad way with Russia. We're going to argue with Russia about it. Either way, I think you know where we're going to end up, and we're going to talk about that later too. Clown report. CIA must be verified. We got to find out that this really was gassed, okay? Troop unwind to still occur. That means Trump still wants to get these guys out of here, okay? He still knows what the priority is. It may just not happen. We don't win every battle in this war. All right. We'll talk some more about that if I didn't get it all clear. Okay, in response to an Anon that says, weird that you can't get eyes on. Suspect AF. Okay, 31 minutes past the hour of 12. Satellite imagery, and I'm going to assume this is eyes in the sky or not definitive. Okay, well, it means kind of what we were just talking about. We don't have any definitive proof of anything, and so it's really, really hard to act. But like I just read to you in the article, Trump plans to work very, very soon. All right. Now, at 20 minutes past the hour of 1, we have this. Iran threat to restart nukes, Drudge report. And then Q says, like clockwork, you have been prepared. Okay, I want you to really, really pay attention to this. You have been prepared. Like clockwork. He's telling us a lot right here. Let me take you over here. This is NewsMax. April 10th. Free Beacon. Iran threatens to restart nuclear enrichment program as President Donald Trump considers whether or not to withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal ahead of a May deadline. Leaders in Tehran are threatening to restart the country's nuclear enrichment program in just a matter of days, the Washington Free Beacon reported on Monday. Iran's Atomic Energy Organization head Ali Akbar Salehi has disclosed that Tehran has retained the ability to restart in just 4 days the full-scale enrichment of uranium, which is the main component in a nuclear weapon that was supposed to be removed from Iran as part of the nuclear deal. You remember this, okay? So bam, 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 war drums. Where have we seen this before? Like clockwork, folks. Like clockwork. Where have we seen this before? We just saw it in North Korea. Okay? Banging drums. Remember, North Korea, they had all these nukes. Okay? We were an immediate... it was a big concern. And as things were getting hot for the left, for the Democratic National Convention, what did they do? They started to bang the war drums of Korea. Well, now they're on their way to China to denuclearize. Isn't that interesting that just like clockwork, now you have been prepared? What I think this means is that this is really, really serious. Folks, if you watched I don't know what video, I think it was a couple videos ago. Do me a favor, maybe watch it. I don't think it was the last one. It was maybe 2 ago. I'm sorry, I don't remember which one. But I gave you a map. Iran, Syria, the Emirates, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, that whole area. It's important to understand the map. It's important to understand how this is all going to work. But I did mention to you many, many times, I've talked about just every other video, Iran is next. We are going to Iran, folks. I don't know how it's going to go down exactly, but we're going to Iran. And you have been prepared. Those sound like serious words to me. We're going to move on. Okay, now we have a Twitter link. California targeted. 27 minutes past the hour of 2. California targeted. How often does POTUS RT? Now, I'm not going to assume that's Rex Tillerson or Rizvi Traverse at this point, and we're going to say real time, okay? It makes more sense. How often does POTUS real time weekly address April showers? Well, I'm not the brightest cat in the world, but weekly address would assume that once a week, weekly. But this week, I think he did 2. Now, I'm in a different time zone as you guys, so sometimes I actually get things later than you simply because of where I am. The actual access has to be clear copyright and everything like that, so I haven't seen it. But from what I understand, there was another address. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure yet because I'm going to actually be later on this news. You guys are going to be getting the news about as soon as you get this video, probably after. Okay, we're going to move on. 23 minutes after the hour 5, Rod Rosenstein problems. Yeah, Rod Rosenstein's got a lot of... Oh, gosh, I'm very sorry. I'm going to move you back. Sorry. There was a Twitter link. I didn't take it to you. I didn't take you there. Let's do it. I'm so sorry. The Democrats are not doing what's right for our country. I will not rest until we have secured our borders and restored the rule of law. Okay, I'm very, very sorry about that. So, the weekly address simply means he means business. Remember, it's happening. He said it in the first video. Then he made another one talking about the Democrats, and that's the video right there. So sorry, I almost skipped right through that. It's been a long day, folks. Okay, that's when we're not going to listen to the whole thing. It's only a 3-minute video. You can see it on his Twitter, but there it is. The Democrats are not doing what's right for our country. Okay, so clearly, with all this going on, the president is still really, really focusing on this border. It must be more important. It must be bigger than we can imagine. Now, what a Rod Rosenstein problem? Well, he's got a ton, but I want to take you back slightly further. Earlier on in February this year, Rod Rosenstein threatened Nunes and House Committee to stop investigation. Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett went on Hannity Friday night after the release of the House Intelligence FISA memo. Jarrett says his sources told him Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein threatened the House Intelligence Committee member 3 weeks ago. I can tell you, a congressional source tells me that Rod Rosenstein, in a meeting 3 weeks ago, threatened Chairman Nunes and members of Congress he was going to subpoena their texts and messages because he was tired of dealing with the Intel Committee. He was tired of dealing with the Intel Committee. You are the Intel Committee. Oh, that's threats and intimidation, Jarrett said. I would tend to agree with Jarrett. Jarrett tweeted that he has another source that confirms Rosenstein's abuse of power. A second source has now confirmed to me that in a meeting on January 10th, Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein used the power of his office to threaten to subpoena the calls and texts of the Intel Committee to get it to stop its investigation of the DOJ and FBI. He tweeted, likely an abuse of power and obstruction. And there it is from Greg Jarrett right there. Okay. So this article goes on to say that looks like quite a few people have said this about him, and they've been really, really afraid. Okay? That's Rod Rosenstein's problem, because now the highlight's on him, right? Now everyone's talking to him. Now everybody wants to hear what he's talking about. Let's talk more about that. 5 minutes past the hour of 6. Forgot to post this along with the original post. We have April, A in brackets, IG, that's the Inspector General report. Sessions, public attack. Okay, well, who's attacking Sessions in public? Well, Rod Rosenstein. That's probably why he's having all those problems. Rod, should dial it back a little bit. Seals broken. Seals broken on what? Thousands upon thousands of sealed indictments, folks. Arrests are being made. Why was Huber made public? Huber was made public, in my opinion, because this was sort of a public, I don't want to really call it a declaration of war. I would liken it to a hockey match when the two guys throw their gloves off. It's time to go. It's time to go. You know, enough with this playing around. We're going to do it our way. We're going to do it criminally. Okay, remember, Huber is one of the top criminal prosecutors around. Why now? Why now? Because everything has meaning. Everything does have meaning. Everything's coming down to the border somehow. Everything's leading us to Iran somehow. How is it all connected? Here we go. Anon, Tarmac, Iran, North Korea, Uranium One, FBI, DOJ, Mueller. We're constantly talking about these guys. They are connected. Iran, it's all going down there. Okay? North Korea, it's almost the same event. Okay? It's going to be a lot worse, I think. But it's the same idea. Okay? Remember, North Korea was banging the war drum saying they had all these missiles, and all of a sudden they got real meek and mild when it was time to deal with them. Now, Iran's not going to be the same way. I promise you that. But it will be a very similar, probably, at some point there's going to be a regime change. I just don't see it lasting. Well, what do they have in common? They have uranium in common because that's what you use to build bombs, okay? Who else builds bombs? Russia builds bombs. All these guys got uranium. Remember from a couple weeks ago, okay, Q posted about this whole passageway. All these guys were getting our uranium, 20% of our uranium. FBI, DOJ, those are the guys that sold us out. Mueller, election integrity. Mueller's getting drilled now, okay? He found nothing. And so now they got to find this other guy to go after Trump's lawyer. Election integrity. Midterms coming up, folks. Midterms coming up. That's going to decide whether this whole witch hunt continues or not. These elections. You understand? If we get a ton of Democrats in there that want to go after Trump, it's going to keep on dragging around. You understand? Immigration bill. Trump's pushing the whole border thing. It's so important to him. The immigration bill, super important to him. The border. It's already being, the border wall, it's already being built. Military's already begun. It's a big month. Indeed, it's such a big month. Amazing coincidence. Plus military start wall. You have more than you know. Reason we are here more. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, all I submit to you in this, I know I'm going fast, but all I really submit to you from here is that whatever all this has to do with, all these different events going around the world, it's coming and going through our borders. That's why I believe this border wall is so much more important than people think it is. It's huge. It's how our uranium got out. It's how the FBI and the DOJ got to these places. Okay? And it was never going to get investigated because on the tarmac, there was a meeting. These Anon brothers sold everybody out to the Muslim Brotherhood. Remember, they're connected to the Muslim Brotherhood. And I have a feeling that in April, we're going to see an arrest of the Anons. All right, we're going to move on. Responding to an Anon, POTUS said they broke in. Q says they broke in during the fire. Distraction, Q. I want to talk more about this. Let me do it a little bit later because we're really going to get into this. Okay, we've got more Q posts to read and we're going to get back to it. All right. Did Anons ever figure out what Q meant with the baby on floor, hands and mouth, the start? Was this Syria? False flag. Q says, finally, chemicals. Learn our comms, Q. Okay, well, this is something that I've wanted to talk about for a while, and it's just about to pop up actually in the next Q post. I'm going to lead you though. All right, so baby on floor, hands and mouth. What does that mean? Okay, well, when you have a baby and you got them playing on the floor, they might be playing on a linoleum floor. What do you clean a linoleum floor with? Well, cleaning products, right? Chemicals. But what particular chemicals do we get? Okay, well, there's all sorts of chemicals in cleaning products, but there's one in particular, one that you put in your pool. What do you put in your pool? You put chlorine in your pool. Okay, what kind of gas was used in Syria? Chlorine. All right, now I want to take you to this Anon, and we're going to read it again with some of that in mind. And this one's really, really important. Please read this. I think this Anon nails it. The connection is simply chlorine, not false flag. Keep in mind that every crumb is not meant to be solved before the event. Some of the drops are things for Anons to dig on and make connections with. Others are markers for future reference. Future proves past. Okay, let me stop you right there. That's so true. And I talk about this a lot, and it frustrates me a lot. Sometimes it's amazing sometimes how people get so worked up over these really, 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 small details. Now, I don't want to tell people to not do the decoding and stuff like that. I think it's important. It's important that we have all types working on this. That's what's so beautiful about this whole hive mind mentality. However, sometimes some of these things weren't completely meant to be completely figured out until we see it later. That's the idea of the future proves past. And I think this Anon nails it. Some drops are just simply communication to the Anons. Yeah, you know it. If you followed my channel or any other channel for a while, you realize that some messages jump right out at you, and other ones you got to kind of work at, and you don't really get it. And then kind of maybe a couple days later, you're like, oh, okay, I see what's going on. You understand? What needs to be understood to appreciate what's going here is the fact that Q is basically creating a circular flow diagram that can be referenced and cross-checked with news releases. Q can't just disclose specifics about a situation or operation without violating security protocol. Instead, they drop questions and statements that lead to answers that can be understood once the subject becomes public. Indeed, he nailed it. This, which might have been a she, this provides the validation necessary for the public to believe the Great Awakening is legit. Disinformation and misdirection with Q is real. In other words, Q is pointing over there, but really the focus is here, and only until you publicly get the news can you go back and understand. I'm assuming that Saudi Arabia drops. All of this is accomplished without giving up specific details about the operation. It's quite genius. And look, when Q just responds with the number of the poster, Q is usually vehemently agreeing, okay? This nails it. Folks, we can debate minutiae all we want, but what we really want is the story. And what more importantly we want to kind of condense that story so that we can share that story for people who don't know. Okay, it's great that we code break. It's great that we do all that stuff. I'm not saying anything bad about that. I'm just saying that what's really, really important is the moral of the story. Okay, I look at it this way. As an actor, it's important to remember your lines, but it's more important to know what's happening in the story, because if you forget your lines, you know how to recover. You know the story. Okay, do you understand? I think you do. Thanks. All right. Brilliant post, really. I'm glad somebody posted that. Now, here we are. We got to talk about this. At 49 minutes past the hour of 7, read carefully. Cohen, New York Times, and it takes you to this article right here. Where are we? Whew. Okay, let's begin. The New York Times. This is from April 7th. Y'all remember the fire. Fire at Trump Tower kills one, police say. Remember the guy that was tied up with, not tied up, but he was a friend of Andy Warhol. A 67-year-old man died after being injured in a fire at Trump Tower in Midtown Manhattan on Saturday, the police said. The man, Todd Brasner, was in his apartment on the 50th floor at the time of the fire, which was reported around 5:30 p.m., the police said. He was taken to a hospital where he was pronounced dead. 4 firefighters sustained injuries that were not life-threatening. Fire Commissioner Daniel A. Negro said at a news conference. He said at the apartment, a large unit that was heavily furnished, was virtually entirely on fire. Video footage showed flames bursting through broken windows. Broken windows? Neither President Trump nor his family was in the building, a Fifth Avenue skyscraper that is the calling card of his real estate business. The commissioner said firefighters went with the Secret Service to inspect the president's residence, while the rest of the building had considerable amount of smoke. Remember that, considerable amount of smoke. Look at that smoke. I want you to look at that smoke because it's going to be relevant in a minute. Black smoke. Okay. Mr. Trump, who was in Washington at the time, said on Twitter that the tower's construction helped confine the fire. Remember, he was talking about it's a well-built building. It's important to remember that. The commissioner said the upper floors that are home to residences do not have fire sprinklers. That's important as well, too. It's a well-built building, he said. The building sure stood up quite well. Okay, so lots going on here, and I want to take you to one more part here. Where is it? He said there were no orders to evacuate. Oh, and then, I'm sorry. Let's take it a little bit further back. Dennis Shields, a resident who said he lived on the 42nd floor, described the scene. Listen carefully. You could smell the smoke, and you could hear things falling, like through the vents, he said. It just smelled like sulfur. He said there were no orders to evacuate, but he received a text message from Mr. Trump's lawyer, Michael D. Cohen. In January, a small electrical fire broke out near the top of the building. Officials at the time indicated it was in the building's heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system. A firefighter was hurt by falling debris and 2 civilians injured. Okay, so much to talk about here, folks. And I'm not going to take you any links. I just need to do this off the top of my head because there's so much fishy about this story and I want to share it with you. Okay, I don't want to go into my personal story much. Every once in a while I give you sort of personal relations and whatever. But I will say this, folks. I've been to firefighting school. I've got a few things I'd like to offer about this. There's some things that I immediately sniffed, and I think anybody who's a firefighter or knows a little bit about fire, I'm not an expert at all. There's obviously some of you guys are probably going to know a lot more about me, but I want to explain some things, and we're going to talk a little bit about fire science, okay? You have a thing called the fire triangle. There's a triangle. You need 3 things to start any fire. I don't care what kind of fire you got. You need 3 things, okay? You need fuel, you need heat, and you need oxygen. Remove any one of those elements from the triangle, you take away the fire. Now, we have all kinds of different fires. We have an alpha fire, white smoke like you kind of see right there. White smoke, this is paper, this is wood, this is sticks, this is leaves, this is twigs, things that generally will leave like an ash, and white smoke, okay? Pretty simple fires. We've all seen those fires. Then we have Bravo fires. Bravo fires are a little more trickier. They're grease fires. They're oil fires. They're usually a gasoline fires, liquid fires. For example, if you get a fire in your kitchen, you don't want to put it out with water because what's it going to do? The oil and the water doesn't mix. It spreads the fire around. So what do you got to do? You got to smother it, removing the oxygen from the fire triangle. You following me so far? This is important, and there's a reason I'm going way into this. Now, there's also your Charlie fires. Charlie fires. Electrical fires, wires, little, electronic kind of stuff. Every once in a while, metal burns a little bit, not necessarily steel, but metal can melt and all sorts of things like that. Charlie fires, okay? Now, you can't put that out necessarily with water either. It can help on the surrounding things, but essentially what you first have to do is you've got to remove the current. Whatever's creating that current, you got to cut that. You got to kill that connection, and that's going to help. That's going to take away basically the heat and essentially in this kind of fire, the fuel. You understand what I'm saying? You're taking away part of the fire triangle. Now, then you have Delta fires, and there's a lot more classifications. We won't go into too much, but a Delta fire is a metal fire, and it's important to know this too because this is going to apply to future and past events. That Delta fires are steel fires, hot fires, melting steel. It's very difficult. Can't even use water. You got to use like a powder. You got to cover it, okay? You got to take away the oxygen. All right, so you get the idea. In this article itself, there's a lot of interesting things. I'm going to take you all the way to the end of the article. In January, not long ago, a small electrical fire broke out near the top of the building. Okay, so they had electrical fire. Electrical fires, like I just told you, they're difficult. What would you smell? What would you smell in an electrical fire? Well, it's wires. It's wires burning. What burns? The rubber around the wires. The wires melt a little bit too. Sometimes a little bit of metal and steel, but for the most part, you smell burning rubber. Okay? Now this guy says, you could smell the smoke and you could hear things falling through the vents, he said. Falling through the vents, it just smelled like sulfur. Okay, well, where in those classifications did I talk about sulfur? Sulfur is a little different. It's a powder, right? It's very caustic. All right? Let me tell you a little about sulfur. And again, I'm not going to take you any links, but sulfur burns a little bit differently. Sulfur burns blue. Sulfur burns blue and it leaves a black smoke. A very dense black smoke. It's not a big flame. As you can see, it's not a ton of, we saw tons of flames, of course, but it's a really black smoke. Now, I'm just saying. Keep in mind, too, sulfur is very, very difficult to put out with water. And the only way I can really explain it is that picture if you've ever had like a protein shake or any kind of powdery drink, we put the powder in the water afterwards, and then you realize you can't really stir it up because the two don't mix. It's kind of like that. So if you splash a water hose, like a fire hose, on it, the sulfur spreads. Okay, the sulfur spreads. Now you can put it out with misty water. Okay, misty water. Why is that important? Why am I talking about all this stuff? It's important. How do you put out a sulfur fire? You got to do it with a mist. Okay, a light mist. You got to kind of calm it down, and then you can work with it. Okay, it's not a very big burning flame. It's a blue flame, actually. So you need a mist. Well, where would you get a mist? You get a mist from a sprinkler system, folks. But this tower didn't have any. Not up there. Didn't have any. Remember, we talked about that. I can't find it here, but you remember. We talked about it. Didn't have any sprinkler systems. Interesting. And what's up with these broken windows? Okay, so we got a sulfur fire, and it's in way up there where the sprinklers aren't. So whoever got this fire going, I wonder if they knew that or not. I knew it. I wonder if anybody else knew it. Let's get a couple more interesting things about this article. You could smell the smoke and you could hear things falling through the vents. He said it just smelled like sulfur. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I fought sulfur fires. They smell like rotten eggs. You smelled it before. It's burning sulfur. It's kind of queasy. Fireworks sometimes smell like that. Sulfur. Sulfur, ladies and gentlemen, is incredibly caustic. It's incredibly caustic. I'm not going to take any websites, but feel free to check all this that I'm saying. The most dangerous thing about sulfur is the way it spreads, the way you have to fight it, but most importantly, the fumes. The fumes. Remember, everyone here was talking about how they smelled it. They smelled it. They just smelled like sulfur. Okay, well, where would you put something caustic? If you wanted people to breathe it in, you would put it in the vents. You could hear things falling like through the vents, he said. It just smelled like sulfur. Ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you, whoever started this fire knew exactly what they were doing. It was a sulfur fire. Sulfur does not smell like burning rubber. It's not an electrical fire, folks. It's not an electrical fire. One more thing about this article is remember who got the warning. He said there were no orders to evacuate, but he received a text message from Mr. Trump's lawyer, Michael D. Cohen. Wow. We're going to talk about him again very soon. I need to move on. I hope you understand what I'm saying here. Okay. 59 minutes after the hour of 10. Thank you, C. Good start. China. CQ, which I'm going to assume is Chongqing. Cancel. Q. All right. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but let me take you to the next post because it's all going to tie together. Adding on to that, there's a New York Times article, which we're going to cover. And then finally, we get this here. Okay, so the Anon is going to start us on the article, which we're going to go to. And all I want to say to you is that Q is, basically responding to this. Okay, so we're all going to talk about just basically this from now. Now, again, on the New York Times, this is as of April 8th. China's embrace of foreign cars. This was exactly on Monday, right? Tuesday. We were talking about it, right? Chongqing, China. For more than a decade, Chinese automakers have been talking about starting large-scale exports to North America and Europe, prompting periodic worries in the West that companies like General Motors, Ford, and Volkswagen might be crippled by Chinese competition the way they were by Japanese imports a generation ago. Yeah, we had Subaru, we had Toyota, they were taking over Nissan. Now there are calls for protectionism, but from an unexpected direction. The biggest, most politically influential Chinese automakers. Wow, so Chinese automakers are saying, oh, well, maybe it's okay. Maybe you can bring in your companies. I don't want to go way into this, but look at this. Chinese consumers increasingly favor American brands. That's true. They really love Ford trucks out there, which have a reputation for safety, youth, and international flair. The domestic brands have tended to lag in surveys of initial quality and engineering, although they are starting to close the gap. In long-term reliability, they are far behind and falling even further. Okay, so basically, I just want to sum this up because there's a lot more to talk about. But basically what's going on here is that all this trade war that we're talking about, the dust is eventually going to settle. And this is part of it, okay? This means that now we can start exporting our cars. We're not going to have all these tariffs. We're going to have tariffs. They're going to have tariffs. But it's going to be more reasonable. It's going to be fair. It's everything that Trump was talking about. And this is a perfect example of it. And Ford is obviously huge. And what do you need to build Ford cars? You need steel. You need American steel. And we've talked a lot about steel, okay? I think you understand where I'm going with this. And this is just all of it's a thank you. It's a good start. It is a good start, okay? The left has pounded Trump saying that he's going to start a trade war. Well, yeah, he's going to start a trade war, but trade wars end and trade wars get fixed. And it all depends on how you deal with the trade war as to how far that war escalates. And it looks like this is a pretty good start. Feeling me? I think you are. Okay. Here we have an Anon post a picture, which to me does not look quite right. I mean, it's pretty damning, but I don't know. Q says it's fake. I say it's fake. Can we move on? All right. 15 minutes past the hour of 12. Clarify. Chongqing, Tuesday. Demand C. Confirmed tariff reduction. Tuesday. China. Cars. Article provides foundation. Major import. Ford. U.S. Start. Q. Ladies and gentlemen, this summed up everything we just said. Okay. On Tuesday, in Chongqing, There was a demand. Xi responded. He confirmed a tariff reduction, which is going to allow companies like Ford to become a major import. It's a big deal. We're playing fair now, and it's a good start. All right. 40 minutes past the hour of 12. Actions today. Raid in the kill box will be met with swift action. FBI burning midnight oil. Okay, well, this was super, super interesting, right? We had this raid. Trump wasn't happy about it. Who was the raid on? Taking you to the hill. This is of the 9th. President Trump on Monday blasted the FBI for raiding the office of his personal attorney, Michael Cohen, calling it a disgrace and a pure, simple witch hunt. Well, it is. It's a real disgrace, Trump told reporters at the White House as Vice President Pence, National Security Advisor John Bolton, and other officials looked on. It's an attack on our country in a true sense. It's an attack on what we all stand for. The president spoke shortly after an attorney for Cohen announced that federal investigators executed a series of search warrants to seize records from Trump's longtime lawyer and fixer. The attorney, Stephen Ryan, said federal prosecutors in New York acted on a referral from special counsel Robert Mueller. Okay, well, this is desperate. It's going on now. They found nothing. Mueller's desperate. Rosenstein's desperate. Lynch is about to get exposed. School shootings aren't working. They're all getting what else do we do? Well, we got to start a war in Iran. We got to run everybody through the border. We got to run everything. We got to get everything going at once. So it just looks like an absolute storm, and Trump takes the blame for it. That's the chaos that they want. They want this chaos. Okay. Well, it's going to be met with swift action. It sounds like that's the case. Okay. I don't know what's going to happen, but folks, whatever happened with this, I find it very, very interesting that the fire occurred. Could it have been Cohen's office? Who knows? We don't know. But either way, if there was sulfur involved in there, they wanted somebody to choke. If you ask me, they wanted somebody to choke. I'm surprised that only one person died. Truly. But I think you get the idea. Okay, they raided this office. Were they trying to get information that's going to lead to this next investigation into Cohen now? Because it's all they got. Keep in mind, this is an investigation into Cohen, not Trump. It's going to be damning. It's going to be very, very difficult. Who knows whether or not he paid off Stormy Daniels or not? Do you care? Do you care, folks? At this point, do you care? I mean, if it was bad, it was bad. But, do you care? All right. I think we can move on. Sounds like there's going to be a raid, or maybe they're going to respond to the raid. Who knows? But we'll be watching the news. Finally, 48 minutes after the hour of 12, trust Sessions, trust Wray, trust Kansas, trust Horowitz, trust Huber. Okay, well, obviously we've been told over and over to trust Sessions. We've been told a few times to trust Wray. Who's Wray? Obviously Wray in Kansas. Kansas, I'm going to assume, is Mike Pompeo. Okay, so these are, let me take you over here. Oh, excuse me, not that one. There we go. This is off of UPI. Top intelligence chief, U.S. elections under attack from Russia. Well, who's heading this up? U.S. intelligence leaders warned a Senate committee Tuesday that Russia will continue to try influence elections in the United States this year. Director of National Intelligence Dan Coats, CIA Director Mike Pompeo, FBI Director Christopher Wray, and National Security Agency Director Admiral Mike Rogers testified before the Senate Intelligence Committee Tuesday to address potential national security threats. Coates said the Kremlin might attempt to influence the midterm elections this fall in the same way it did 2016 presidential vote. Okay, folks, well, what I'm getting out of this is that now it looks like the shoe's on the other foot. We're getting out in front of the narrative on the rigged elections before it even happens, pointing now that the Russian collusion is on the Democrats. I shouldn't just say the Democrats, but you know what this is. It's this cabal. It's on both sides of the aisle, mainly Democrats, but clearly both sides of the aisle. But I think you understand what I'm saying, okay? We're talking about these cyber attacks. They're getting out in front of it. They're letting it know, and it's probably the real collusion. The panel's ranking Democrat Virginia Senator Mark Warner said threats to many U.S. institutions come right from home, with help from Russian internet bots and trolls that attack the integrity of the FBI and Department of Justice. Okay. Trust Horowitz, trust Huber. Not sure about Horowitz yet, but Huber seems pretty much on the up and up. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry that I'm not so clear-headed today, but that's as good as I've got it for you today. These are your Q posts. Thank you so much for hanging with me. I know it was a long one. As always, if you'd like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. If you've been unsubscribed, please subscribe again. Please, I'm kind of counting on all you guys to do that yourselves. That's from time to time. It's just probably going to happen. So if you're not getting notifications within probably 24 to 48 hours, just check again, please, kindly. Thanks so much. This is Sir Patrick Mack with In Pursuit of Truth. And until next time, stay hungry for information because it's coming.